Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy stream. Today we're going to be trying out something a little bit spicy. It's in fact so spicy that I don't really know what to call this deck. So part of me wants to call this deck like the Mighty Quinn because, you know, it has scrying sheets and a bunch of snowlands and ways to manipulate the top of the library. So that's pretty cool. And the other part of me goes, this deck is beyond spicy and is doing so many different new things that it probably deserves a new name. So let's walk through what's going on here. We have Web of Inertia. Beginning of combat on each player's turn, on each opponent's turn, that player may exile a card from their graveyard. If they don't, creatures they control can't attack you this turn. So this is supposed to combo with Leyline of the Void so that your opponent never gets to attack you. And that's pretty sick. The other combo, I guess, is Shared Fate and Mary's Guile. So if a player would draw a card, that player exiles the top card of one of their opponent's libraries face down instead. Each player may look at cards they exiled with Shared Fate, and then they may play lands and cast spells from them among those cards. Okay, what? So the idea is that we stick a Shared Fate while we have Mary's Guile in play. And we put our worst cards on top of our library. So that if our opponent would draw a card, instead they go and look at our worst cards, and then maybe we kill our opponent with their cards sometimes, and we get better cards on average than they do. I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical about Shared Fate being playable as like, A, it's 5 mana, B, it's blue, and that's a really bad combination because it'll get like Pyroblasted and stuff out of the sideboards. But we'll see if this works. Supplementing this, we have a Living Wish creature package, as well as a Karn the Great Creator artifact package. So ultimately, this means that we have access to just about everything that's in our sideboard in Game 1 scenarios, whether that's just needing to hit a land drop that can also hit a Merit Lodge, or whether that's hitting a specific bullet. I made a couple of changes to the donation deck list that I got from Kinda MTG. Number one, I subbed an Oko for an Uro for two reasons. Number one, I own an Oko, and I don't own an Uro. And number two, I just wanted to have something powerful that could potentially mise games on its own, and I was worried that two Uros wouldn't necessarily be great, because I'm not going to fuel the graveyard all that well. This deck doesn't have cantrips despite being a blue deck, so I thought two Uros might be a little bit overkill. Number two, there were two opposition agents in the sideboard. I cut both of them. My rationale was that if you Living Wish for an opposition agent, that is beyond telegraphed, and it's not good at that point. And most of the power of this deck is coming from being able to access cards in Game 1 that are going to be relevant and impactful. So I cut the two opposition agents for a Liquid Metal Coating for easy Karn wins, and then a Shifting Ceratops, because everybody fucking loves dinosaurs. Great question from Basic Swamps, but is it better than Applejacks? Well, it's probably as spicy as Applejacks. Whether or not our plans actually come together, that's going to be an entirely different question. Taking a quick look at some of the things that we have to offer off of Living Wish, we have sort of a baby sweeper in the form of Plague Engineer. We have a huge uncounterable jerk at the end of the curve. We have a smaller uncounterable jerk partially up the curve. We have Artifact Hate, and we have Card Draw Hate. So we have a whole bunch of stuff. As far as things that we're actually going to sideboard in, it's basically chains. Otherwise, we're probably not sideboarding much. All right, YouTube. Wish me luck, and please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. I'm shooting for 3,000 subs in this next month here. Let's see if we can get there. Okay, so the round 1 hand doesn't have any turn 1 or 2 or 3 plays, but has Leyline and Karn to get Helm and the mana to Helm activate. Um, Move these lands over here. I have 22 hits for playable cards, and I need to hit a playable card probably within 2 draw steps. This is probably okay to keep. I think it's sketchy, but when almost everything is a hit, that's probably fine. There's also some percentage of games where we just, like, mise them with a ley line. Or if not mise, get good value out of it at the very least when we shut off things like Dreadhorde Arcanist or Uro. We're looking to get paired against a slow-ish deck. So for example, if we get paired against Elves here, we're dead. Smells kind of like Elves. Could be Maverick, though. This is fine. I probably can't just name this blind because I don't know if my opponent is Elves or Maverick yet. So unfortunately, I think I just have to pass the turn. If it was Elves, I would be putting the Sunwirewood Symbiote in the dark. Okay, we are playing against Elves. Yep. Bad things are happening. What do we got? Green Sun for X equals 2. Green Sun for X equals 2. This gets Elvish Visionary, draws them a card, and then they can bounce it with Wirewood Symbiote once in response to my Pithing Needle. How are they going to keep up with a card advantage from scrying sheets? Oh, well, we're gonna Pithing Needle the fuck out of that instead. This kind of lol. Living Wish for Plague Engineer, and then Pithing Needle. Baruch, you're not alone. I don't understand either, and here I am playing it. My opponent is probably equally confused, though, to be fair. We can still just be very dead to something like a Natural Order. Or the Hoof. Or just the Hoof, yeah. Yep. I'm not a math wizard. but this does not seem good for the home team. Hello? Okay. So Leovold and Plague Engineer are totally fine. I don't really think I get to sideboard much with this deck, like, basically in any rounds, unfortunately, because the power of the Wishboard and the other Wishboard are what's important. SEK, I don't even know. I didn't give this deck a name. This is the deck with no name. I don't think I get to fuck around with Shared Fate. I think I just die too much of the time before I get to 5 mana if I don't interact. So we're gonna play Chains in hopes of, like, making the Glimpse turns not relevant, and also shutting down the normal engine. And then we still have the Whelm of Inertia, Leyline of the Void combo, and some other cards that do stuff sometimes. For those of you who don't watch don't listen to the podcast, I I crapped all over Living Wish last week. uh, my general opinion was that Living Wish is really slow for current Legacy, and taking a turn off for that card selection is often disastrous in the fast-paced snowbally metagame that we're in. And like that game was a great example of that, where we cast a Living Wish and then died before we got to do the thing we got off the Living Wish. I hope to have better results the rest of the night than this. But I don't necessarily expect to beat Elves with this deck. I mean, we have a good start to try. Two chains, two cantrips, perfect deck building. I think under the assumption that I probably end up playing a Chains on turn 2, I'm supposed to play the Astrolabe on 1 rather than the Miri's Guile. The boat guy, you can also click the cards on screen to just hover over everything. Okay. So the greed question is, can I take a turn off to cast Icefang Coatl and draw my card before I play Chains? I probably shouldn't, but I think I'm going to. I think the correct play is to just put Chains in play, but I don't really have a way to win the game yet, or anything that even looks like a way to win the game. Plus, there's a world where this Dryad Arbor gets saucy and attacks in, and that would be just like chef's kiss good here. A glimpse plus a cradle is the thing that I am most scared of from my opponent. My opponent just like taps Dryad Arbor. Well, I guess the cradle's not insane this turn. Cradle's more insane the following turn. Yeah, I guess I don't need to worry too much right now. Yeah, if my opponent had led on a turn 1 play and had a slightly more formidable board, maybe I'd be more afraid. But they don't know what to do. They're taking a while on their turn 2, which may be a product of them being confused about what I am trying to accomplish with my deck. Which is fair. Okay, so you can now play Gaia's Cradle, get 2 mana. SCK, thank you very much for the support. I do appreciate it. Okay, this is what I don't want to see. So my opponent glimpses, and I didn't play the chains. And then they have like Birchlore plus Quirion. It's gross. Yeah, the support here is very much appreciated, friend, as always. Making the legacy content isn't always easy, but it's usually fun. Okay. So this is probably the end of what happens this turn. My opponent can choose to return this to their hand in order to untap Birchlore, and then play one more creature, but they probably can't do anything beyond that. They've already played their one land for turn, so another another Quirion Ranger in play doesn't really do anything. Getting paid for doing nothing is strong. Highly recommended if you can get away with it. All right. This all is not great. Get slightly punished for not playing out the chains. And my opponent, again, can just have natural order and I die. We're playing a blue deck that does not have like Ponder, Brainstorm, Preordain, so we're very much at the mercy of the top of the deck. So whatever happens, happens. Yep, we're dead. So that's 15, 20, yeah. Super dead. Yeah, we are lacking cantrips to hold our hands together. We don't have Force of Will or Force of Negation to stop the scariest stuff that can happen. Um, let's see if we can do better. Okay, so we have an opening hand with magic cards in it. I guess we keep. Oh, Conan is playing a Leyline deck. Could be curses. Something curse-esque. They have a collector oof in the board that might end up being good. So based on my opponent's play pattern, they're just going to play some big curse next turn. Getting Collector Oof is a little awkward. Because it's good against Helm, and pretty bad against Karn most of the time. I don't think holding up Abrupt Decay really does anything for me. I gotta get Revoker. Hey Bentley, welcome. That Commander video I recorded was really fun. So for anyone who doesn't follow the content on the YouTube end, today I put up a video where I played a game of Commander with Julian, Brian Koval, and Justin Ganari. So I picked 4 of the biggest names in Eternal Magic, and we got together for a game of Commander, and it was fucking hilarious. Ooh. I wasn't actively thinking about Opposition Agent, because a lot of Reaple Cheap's lists cut that. Underground Sea, okay. Okay, yeah. This is not unexpected. This is why I got the Revoker, was in fear of Karn. Getting Liquimetal Coating. Okay. Bentley, I will make note of that. And I'll hit you up over Facebook at some point in the next couple of days. That's fine. Liquimetal porting is essentially a Rashaten port right now. I'm trying to think about what my Abrupt Decay is doing. There's a world where it just hits Opposition Agent so that I can fetch. Opponent has both Dark Ritual and another Opposition Agent. They can get me for this. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. Oh, I could have just left it in play because of Urborg. That was a small mistake. Yeah, so I played with a Zanksha sleeper agent. I want to attack into an opposition agent. A little awkward. A little awkward. But it's still revoked! I thought for sure that was just gonna resolve. Okay. Ah, okay. Neat. My opponent pitched a Hull Breacher. And they still have, like, priority stops set. They're not, like, F6 or anything. I don't know that I'm supposed to attack this. So my opponent has both Hull Breachers and opposition agents. Hmm. Not gonna attack. An Ascending Descent. Thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Hmm. Really unfortunate, because Living Wish... Oh no, this is fine. Not unfortunate at all. I attack and kill Karn. That turns Astrolabe back on. Now I can Prismatic Vista, fetch, and get myself a green source. Okay. Oh, I was planning on just green sunning for Collector Oof. Is it just better for me to play Karn? Yeah, it's probably better for me to play Karn. Then I can Living Wish for something different. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have fetched then, I guess. Ceratops, Wormcoil Engine. Maybe just shifting Ceratops, just get some fat. Let's get the Wormcoil. Yeah, Bentley, I have considered doing a Patreon in the past, but I've ultimately come down on the side of I don't think I want to do that. I want to make sure that my content is free and available to the people that want to watch it. I may consider a Patreon at some point. Did my opponent just lose themselves the game? It sure seems like my opponent just lost themselves the game. That's real weird. My opponent doesn't get to cast any more spells. I have 6 damage a turn in play. Soon to be 12 damage a turn. That was not the most heads up play for my opponent. All right. So these things really need to go for other things. Headshot catcher, we are playing a pile of spice. No one knows what any of the cards do. All right. This has no text. And again, I don't think this is fast enough for this matchup. I need cards that impact the board, and I need to draw them. The issue is that, like, every card I board in is a card that is not in the main deck. I think I'm just going to add 1 land to the deck. This is going to be my primary Living Wish target, I guess. But maybe it ends up being one of these as the games go along. Maybe that means I should board in Shifting Ceratops. And I don't know exactly from there. I'm real proud of that D&T video. That was a quality product. Yeah, the combo is Shared Fate plus Mary's Guile. I'm gonna just board this in as something that can trade with Hull Breachers and opposition agents. Well, this hand doesn't really do anything. I'm gonna mulligan this one. And also doesn't do anything, but it has 2 redraws in it. So I guess I keep. I'm going to put back a fetch land specifically because of opposition agent. Otherwise, I'd put back a basic. Can play around Dark Ritual opposition agent by just playing an Astrolabe this turn, so I will do that. Yeah, there are real advantages to playing the same deck for years and years and years. Sometimes you really feel the sting of any given metagame. But other times you just get huge value by, like, knowing the ins and outs of what your deck is supposed to do. Wait, am I just supposed to Pithing Needle Karn now? Even though it's a 4 of in my deck? I have literal no idea. Spider Space, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Alright, let's do it. I don't have a Karn now. After making this play, I obviously will draw one next turn because that's how Magic works. Okay. Prismatic Vista has been turned into a slightly worse card, but I do have all of my colors. Alright. Always yes to this, always yield to this. Yes. Hey, there's that Oko that I put in here. Is that gonna be good? Feels like that's gonna be good. We're gonna cast that. Now? Probably now. I will win us some games with this deck, even if it takes Oko to do it. Alright, that was a force pitching a Hull Breacher. Alright, my opponent is out of flash threats. They could draw one this turn, but they didn't have one that they could have played. That's annoying. I'm not taking that Leyline of the Void out of play. So I guess I just go ahead and cycle this. And I'll use that to draw the Caracas that's on top of my library. I will put that into play. And now I represent Icefang Coatl. And ambushing that mid-combat can turn Prismatic Vista back on. We do have the 3 requisite Snowlands for Death Touch. I'll go ahead and make my trade there. And now we'll actually have Miri's Guile plus a couple of fetch lands to filter my draw steps. Well, Spider Space, I can keep it as a recursive card draw engine, but then I don't get to snipe the opposition agent in combat. Let's do a quick test and see if my opponent has drawn an opposition agent. Yeah, I would like to know about the opposition agent prior to Karn if it's going to happen. Okay, it did indeed happen. That's fine. It's my opponent getting a basic land. But now I know about it, and I can make better decisions with Karn. Oh, I sure did Needle Karn. You're right. Karn sucks. I shouldn't have drawn this. I'll find Abrupt Decay and make this play be worth it somehow later. Playing the Karn does play around just getting killed by a Helm, though. So, like, totally fine. Not optimal, but fine. A Living Wish. That's gotta be good somehow. I can have 4 mana after Living Wish this turn. Unfortunately, I took my 4-drop out. I guess that just means I grab a Wormcoil Engine and, like, that's that. I'll cast that next turn. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I'll gladly take an Ice Fang Coatl for later. And we will play a big fat 6-mana card. That hopefully just snowballs this game out of control. How does this card work? If it is snow, I can reveal it. Well, the best option there this turn, so I'll grab it. This is a very strange game. My opponent is intrigued by what's going on over here. So we'll draw whatever card happens to be on top of our library right now. We'll go ahead and trade with this body so that I can search again. I'll use that to clear the top of my library. And then I'll activate scrying sheets. No snow cards to reveal. Also no snow cards here. I think I'll just fetch this stuff away. See if we hit with scrying sheets randomly. We did not. Opponent's just dead to Wormcoil Engine next turn. We have gotten the GG from the opponent. We have at least gotten on the scoreboard tonight with this one. Which is good, because I was definitely nervous. Our round 3 hand is keepable. We have a Miri's Guile, which can hopefully sort of, like, tie things together. We don't really want more lands here. Not sure what we're playing against. Underground Sea could mean many sorts of things. Could be a Storm deck, could be, a Delver deck of some nature, could be a control deck. It might take another turn cycle or two to actually get a feel for that. Like, if our opponent just goes, like, Underground Sea into Ponder or something like that, I won't really have a feel for what's going on yet. Our opponent is combo, unfortunately. We have no counter spells to find. Although Flooded Strand is less indicative of combo. Okay, hold on. Always yes, always yield. Karn? I'll take a Karn. I want a swamp. The chat overlay bigger than normal? Oh, we're playing against a combo deck of some kind. We're probably dead. So you shouldn't be missing out on anything relevant. So just to show that off, this is what it looks like if I remove chat. So all you're missing is the thing that says cleanup in the far right-hand side. You don't really need the chat log. This is a textbook Magic the Gathering play right here. Abrupt Decaying a Lotus Petal. Ugh. No. No and no. Ugh, God, this is such a bad combination of cards. There's gonna be like opposition agent did here. Like, what's going on over there? Oh, okay. I cast a Pithing Needle. It has resolved. I will name Polluted Delta. I just want to slow my opponent down until I get to this Karn. Forza Phil, thank you very much for following. And, for editing the podcast. Living Wish, have 2 mana afterwards. I can Living Wish. I probably just play Karn this turn and shut off Lotus Petal. And then do Living Wish next turn. Like, I don't know if my opponent is like a Hull Breacher combo deck and just has a weird start, or what exactly is going on over there. Okay. Minuervea1, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime subscription. I really do appreciate the support, and I hope you're enjoying this. All right, show and tell. All right, should be pretty dead to that. I can find another Karn for Ensnaring Bridge. And before chat says it, yes, I know I could have put Shared Fate in. I'm aware. Those cards don't do stuff. Oh, holy shit, it is a Karn! That's exactly the card that I needed. So next turn I have 4 mana for Karn and 3 mana for Ensnaring Bridge. So you're telling me there's a chance. Come on! Oh wow, it worked. Well, we can hang out in Dirtle for a while now. Strap in, chat. Although, to be honest, I probably just minus immediately and try to end the game on the spot with, whatchamacallit. Lycos and Lattice. No, we're not going for a shared fate win. Like, if it happens, it happens, but we're gonna try to win the ways that actually win the game in one turn. Like, there's plenty of worlds where a shared fate ends up, like, accidentally killing us somehow. Whereas, like, a Mycos and Lattice resolving has a 100% chance of winning. Like, an Ice Fang Coatl, for example, can attack in under an Ensnaring Bridge on that board. Or my opponent hitting one of my Abrupt Decays can blow up my Ensnaring Bridge and lose me the game. Okay, so we are playing against a blue-black show and tell deck. I don't know that this is actually all that good. And I think because of Abrupt Decay for Bridge, Shared Fate is not going to be good. I also don't think Veil of Summer is going to be good, despite the fact that our opponent has some counter spells. I also don't think Abrupt Decay is going to be good. So here's the problem. We theoretically want to board 9 cards out. Dead of Winter also probably not good. 10 cards out. But, like, we're a Living Wish Karn deck, so we don't really get to sideboard. So, that's where we're at. Boarding this. Boarding this. Boarding this. Uh... Boarding Chains. I leave 2 or 3 creatures in the sideboard just so Living Wish can technically get something. That's probably fine. Might just board in that. Alright, so what's the worst of this? These are the worst. I can keep a couple of Abrupt Decay for, like, something. Like, opponent could have Hull Breachers, opponent could have Opposition Agents, opponent could have some Planeswalker or something. Uh... I don't know. Maybe I should just, like, board in the Collector Oof to stop their artifact mana, even though it, like, fucks with my Astrolabe and Karn. Oh, I bet when I downloaded that Moto update, this happened. This is what that person meant earlier. I see. Okay. Got it. This hand with, like, 1 redraw and a Miri's Guile going to consistently enough hit my land drops that this is acceptable to keep? Probably, but I don't know that I want to risk it, because the payoff for that hand isn't that great. Whereas this hand is actually potentially good with chains. I assume there's cantrips over there. Just makes sense that there would be. Now we have 2 chains. I hear that is quite better than 1 chain. Oh, you know, I probably made a mistake. I boarded in the Caracas just to board in a land, but now if my opponent just puts in a Grizzlebrand or something, I can't just Living Wish for Caracas. Awkward. You know what you did, kinda. A blue deck with no cantrips and no counter magic. Oh, they brainstorm locked themselves. Sick. Okay, yeah, like, okay, technically Astrolabe and Uro are cantrips. They do something while replacing themselves, but you know. You know what I mean. Alright, we got a Progenitus for our trouble. And then we'll cast another Chains next turn. Two Chains! Alright, we got another Progenitus for our trouble. Good thing we have this third Chains. Alright, my opponent has found a second land. So I have 2 cards that care about double colors. I'll just pick up another forest. Now we Living Wish for Collector Oof? Wormcoil Engine? Like, I I don't know. Get a Revoker. We're a couple turns away from casting a Wormcoil Engine. And if our opponent has like a Grizzlebrand or something, we can stop them from activating it. Although we already have some hate for a big monster, as you can see here. And we're gonna put Web of Inertia into play. Legacy All-Star. Web of Inertia. My opponent will only get 3 attacks with their creatures, unless they fetch, then they get 4 attacks. Or unless they play any other cards beyond those, then, you know, they get more attacks. Alright. Chains has claimed its first victim. But Garden Hellkite. Feel like a hybrid reanimator deck over there? Yeah, Deathmark, we have Leyline of the Void, which doesn't quite have the same impact because you have to draw them in the right order. But, you know, it's close. Also, if our opponent is like a reanimator deck now, and we like looted them into a way to put that into their graveyard, I'm gonna be slightly annoyed. Yeah, I recorded one Commander video for YouTube. I played a game with Justin Gennari, Brian Koval, and Julian Knob. I put that up today, and hopefully it's pretty ridiculous. I enjoyed playing it a lot. I think the games were pretty ridiculous. I enabled my opponents to do some silly things. If the content does well, I'll make some more videos. It was fun. I've already told Brian if he wants to make another video, I'll be happy to play in it. Brian made one video for his channel. Combo! 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 So I played EDH a lot in college and at the very beginning of my time in grad school. Then I discovered competitive Magic. And that's a deep rabbit hole to go down. Yeah, Reaple Cheap. That is Currently in consideration, yes. My time is the biggest factor there. Because, like, that was fun content for me, other people enjoyed it, but I only have so many hours in the week. Ah, a show and tell. Um, I guess I will loot away my Abrupt Decay into a card that isn't Abrupt Decay. Cornea, thank you very much for your continued support. Jazzy, good question. What's your favorite monster in classical mythology? Let me think about that one when things slow down a bit. Poke me again if I forget. Section from Blue, Haste, Crash. Am I supposed to crash in with everything? Then I get 2 more points of damage in. Guess I can just make that same decision next turn, right? Yeah, I can just make that same decision next turn and leave the Revoker on Grizzlebrand in play. Yeah, I mean, if the opponent attacks, I'm attacking back for 13. I'll send them. I'm not afraid. Alright, so opponent, you're at 7. What sort of tomfoolery do you have for me? White faces, don't you even joke about Borgarden Hellkite with haste. With flash. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this hand. Just perfect legacy hand of no interaction and Uro and a bunch of lands and a Leyline of the Void. Typical stock legacy stuff. Alright, getting too spicy in here. Hey, a redraw. Redraws are solid. Gladly take this. Good thing we have Brainstorm to shuffle away this Leyline of the Void and all these extra lands. Kinda. Oh yeah, we're playing Shared Fate. Walked Airplane, don't worry. We're all confused here. Literal every person in chat and on stream and my opponents, everyone is confused. So if you're confused, you're probably doing it right. White faces. That's some classic, like, local level LGS shenanigans right there. Nah, we're playing shenanigans, and we're playing shenanigans against a hyper efficient deck that is trying to kill me. We're gonna have trouble getting 5 cards into the graveyard to escape our Uro, by the way. We don't have cantrips. So, like, we're fueling this via 5 fetch lands a good portion of the time. I've never seen a deck look so much like Nick Fit without actually being Nick Fit. Hmm. A good way to put it. We're Nick Fit in spirit, for sure. No one knows what Nick Fit actually looks like. The lists are so wildly different from each other. You could never know what a Nick Fit deck truly looks like. Come in expecting Siege Rhino, and then all of a sudden it's like, aha, you thought it was Siege Rhino, but it was actually me, a 10 mana enchantment the whole time. Am I fetching? Kind of want to look for Abrupt Decay specifically. Maybe I should fetch. I miss D&D versus Miracles matches that were played at a very high level. But otherwise, I don't super miss that format. Like, I loved going to, like, Star City Opens and stuff, and, like, in between rounds, fine Anurag. Anurag, what's your record? Alright, good, I hope we get paired. Yeah, so I'm just gonna die. My opponent is gonna attack me for somewhere between 5 and dead this turn, and then they'll finish me off the following turn. Any spell represents lethal next turn. I think it's probably Abrupt Decay or Bust for this turn cycle. Oh, well, I'm happy. Now opponent will probably like Ponder or something, and then I die. Oh yeah, we can die to Double Bolt. We can die to our opponent just like having another creature. We can die to me accidentally clicking through combat and not casting Abrupt Decay. Like, there's all sorts of ways we can die here. Red Hot, thank you very much for your continued support. I very much do appreciate it. Congrats on the year. All right, so my opponent didn't play a new threat, so that's good news for me. Are we just gonna fucking cast a Shared Fate? All right, kinda. We're gonna cast a Shared Fate. This is the bait spell, though. This is just gonna get, like, dazed or forced or more other forced or spell pierced, and then we can actually resolve the Karn. And next turn we get to play the Karn around both soft permission spells. Rubones TM. Thank you very much for throwing the support this way. All right, side note. Parsing names is always just so incredibly difficult when it comes to like strings of letters in languages that you're not sure what language it's actually going to be. So I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. That's just kind of how it goes. All right. So now I'm just gonna be dead to this. Karn into a 2-mana card. I have a 2-mana flyer. No. Do I have a 2-mana removal spell? No. I have a 2-mana card that impacts the board in any way that's meaningful right now. No. Do I have any other outs? What about Scrying Sheets with a shuffle into Icefang Coatl? Does that do it? That's 3 total mana. I have 3 other mana available. Yes, that technically does it. This is the fringiest of fringe outs. Oh shit, the Uro. You have the Uro. And this fetch land is 1, 2, 3, 4. The fetch land is the 5th card. Alright. That plan is better than the plan that I had. I had forsaken that Uro as something that just wasn't coming back. Now, if opponent does have Force of Will blue card left as their last 2 cards, like, okay, I'm screwed. But other than Abrupt Decay, god damn it, other than Abrupt Decay, I literally wouldn't have had any outs to that. Ugh. GG. Okay. So, again, our opponent is trying to kill us. We have a bunch of slow, clunky cards and no real free or cheap interaction. I don't even know that I get to Veil of Summer. Like, I don't know that I have this 1 mana to spare in a lot of turns, unfortunately. This is approximately 1 billion cards that I want to board in. I think I'm just going to board in the Chains, the Leovold, and want to naturally draw this sometimes. Yeah, that's fine. Now that I know what to look for in this matchup, I can mulligan a little bit more aggressively towards a hand that maybe does something. But the tempo hit from Living Wish is pretty brutal against a Delver deck. And this is something that we were talking about on the podcast. Taking a turn off to cast selection spells sometimes has a huge cost. Yeah, I'll keep this. This is a little bit awkward in some ways, in that, like, my mana's not quite right. But hopefully the combination of Miri's Guile plus, like, Chains and Living Wish lets me buy enough time to cobble something together. Dread Shedem. Ceratops is a totally reasonable card to bring in, but if I bring it in, I can't wish for it. And Ceratops is kind of the sort of card that I frequently see myself wanting to wish for. Like, if I play a Living Wish on turn 2 or 3, I want to be able to get something that I cast a turn or two later, and that's this. As the game goes very long, I can instead think about picking up this or Wormcoil Engine, but I think being able to wish for Ceratops is too important a good portion of the time. Alright. Always yes. Always yield. I'd like to pick up another land this turn. Great. I'm quite happy with these cards. I think I'm just going to take the snow-covered island rather than another fetch. The fetch is slightly better with Miri's Guile, but individual points of life are probably very, very, very important this game. Nothing's too spicy for this deck list. We are a pile of spice. This deck defies normal Legacy naming conventions. I don't even know what to call it, so no. Tabernacle is reasonable. Get in there, Tabernacle. Hey Zach, welcome. We are currently paired against a Delver deck, and I am playing a pile of cards that exist in the game Magic the Gathering. My colors theoretically don't matter too much. I'll pick up a forest here. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can represent a Veil of Summer, even though I bordered it out. Atlas Jester, thank you very much for following. Ah yes, Island of Walk Walk, of course. The matches tonight have been interesting. That I can say for sure. Good? Don't know that I get to say good. We're doing questionable things. I also don't know if I'm supposed to just, like, jam this Karn. No, let's get this Web of Inertia into play. Actually, do I just, like, wait on Web of Inertia because it's, like, oddly good here and probably wins me the game? Yeah, wait on that a little bit longer. I'm not gonna be shuffling. So let's just put a Leovold into play this turn. Petty Theft on Chains. Okay. Alright, they took the chains out of play, but left the Leovold. Leovold just getting bolted. I get a card here. That is indeed what's happening. My opponent also probably, other than counter magic, has, like, one out to a Web of Inertia left now. There might be like one more Brazen Borrower. Red Shedham, thank you very much for following. Sorry, for subscribing. Also, apparently MTG Bot is like back on Boros Fist Bump, which is the default. So I wonder if all my bot commands died at some point. We're going to have another Pox appearance on stream sometime soon. And as well as a mono black aggro deck with like Rotting Regisaurs and Crystalline Giant. So if you're a Pox-ish fan, you're going to have some fun things to play with in the not too distant future. Now my Astrolabe cantrips because Chains is out of play. We're going to try to stick the Chains again. Alright, and I think next turn I probably go for Web of Inertia. Because my opponent can, like, cast a Brazen Borrower next turn, and things start to get a little bit spooky. I think in order to have a good Pox deck, we really need new printings for that deck. Like, I enjoy playing with Pox, but it is an uphill battle to be playing that deck right now. No, I don't have a mono black vampires deck in the queue. There's a mono black kind of aggro-ish deck in the queue, but that's it. Alright. We're gonna try to Web of Inertia. Doesn't get Flusterstormed. It doesn't get Dazed. It doesn't get Spell Pierced. It can get Force of Willed or Force of Negation. I kind of feel like my opponent has to have a counterspell. Like, they have 3 cards. Whether or not it's a counter... Oh, nice. So now they don't get to attack me because I have Leyline of the Void in play, so they can't exile cards from their graveyard. So to win the game, they would have to do a shit ton of damage directly to my dome. Or have like another Brazen Borrower sort of effect. Hold on, is this can't attack me? They attack my Planeswalkers? Fuck, I think they can attack my Planeswalkers. Awkward. This deck is full of good deck building synergy. We have Astrolabe in Chains, we have Uro in Chains. We have Uro and Ice Fang Coatl, or sorry, Chains and Ice Fang Coatl, which I definitely forgot about when I looted there. Chains is the force bait. I'm not supposed to stick it. Shit. They discarded Leyline Surgical. Shifting Ceratops being pro blue is pretty relevant here. Probably what I'm doing. Hacking. Yeah, let's try to end this game. If opponent trades a creature for this, great. If they don't, great. I'm starting to do damage. But I probably need to end this game before they find an answer, because at some point they'll just play Brazen Borrower, and then they'll have an absolute crap ton of damage in hand. Oh god, they just found Petty Theft. Actually, that was probably a terrible play on their end, right? So they're attacking in for non-lethal amounts of damage using one of their few remaining ways to actually deal with my shit. It kind of feels like they might have lost themselves the game. Now they have to try to finish me with bolt effects instead of just waiting a turn or two. I don't know about that. Yeah, the scrying sheets engine can get online in games that go to turn, 8, 10, 12. But before that, it's a card that doesn't produce correct colors of mana to actually let you cast your stuff. If my stuff gets bounced and I block Ice Fang with this, I would take 4, 5, 6 and exactly die. I guess I'll hold back the Ice Fang this turn. Oh wait, hold on, that doesn't make sense. I guess now it makes sense that my opponent blocked. One connection with the Wormcoil engine probably wins me this one. Again! And I know it resolves, so that means that I can attack with both safely. Alright. We've we've been through a lot, but I think we are stabilized. It takes double bolt to beat me now. I don't believe this is working right now. I could activate Scrying Shoes, but I know that the card on top of my library is not a snow permanent. I guess I can leave the Astrolabe on top and then redraw it, but Gonna cast a Worm Coil. Dusty Cupboards, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Opponent's last card is Dazed. Get wrecked. That is how it works. No, I don't think I just want to like draw the Labe next upkeep. I think I just want to be able to like pick up a fetch land and take a new fresh draw off this Astrolabe later. Because the cards that are on top of my library are very much not good. I also would like to be able to play cards around soft permission. Ugh. So now if my opponent tops another bolt, I die. Human? Maybe I should name Elemental for Young Pyromancer based reasons. No, that doesn't matter. I'll name Human. Okay, so Chains is actually good for me here, right? I'll use this to mill the crap card off the top of my deck and get through it. I don't really care about these creatures. Like those creatures don't block, and the Web of Inertia should be taking care of them. I care about red things that can potentially chump block this. Okay. We did it. We won. We have to do that again, though. Um, yeah, doing this on the draw is gonna be a little bit harder. No, this is like match 4. Gone somewhat quickly. Oh, we are not 3-0. We've done some losing. We have a really good hand this time, though. Like, I have a removal spell. I have an annoying life gain card that my opponent may or may not still have a whole bunch of cards in their deck to beat. And I have one of the most broken cards printed in the last 2 years. The Miri's Guile is pretty clutch here as well. Yeah, literally playing 4-color snow. This is exactly the 4-color snow game plan with the Leyline of the Voids and the Miri's Guile. Alright. Always yes. Always yield. Oh, Abrupt Decay is disgustingly good. I will very happily take that. I leave the lands on top? I probably leave the lands on top. I think I'll take one more. Alright, revealing Brazen Borrower doesn't quite do it. But Brazen Borrower only bounces opponent stuff, right? Yeah. So I can let them continue to the rest of their turn. I think I'm gonna end up killing the Sprite Dragon over the Delver. Sprite Dragon probably represents more damage over time. I mean, the somewhat facetious answer is it's all the same shit. Like, the decks kind of have a separate identity, but in reality, you usually end up playing and sideboarding against them roughly the same. And so, unless you're playing at, like, the absolute pinnacle of Legacy, it's probably okay for you to conceptually group all the snow decks together as one macro archetype. Now, if you're playing in challenges every weekend, like, you should know the difference between those, but if you're just casually playing some leagues and stuff, mentally grouping them as being the same macro archetype is probably totally fine. On the off chance that my opponent is playing Stifle, I'm gonna go ahead and fetch now. And I think I'll just pass the turn. Try to play Ice Fang Coatl around Daze, and then I can play a 3-drop around Daze next turn. Alright, Delver has flipped to Brainstorm. I have a lot of cards if I can stay alive, but that's a bit of an ask right now. My opponent has 5 points of pressure on the board and is likely cantripping towards more counterspells, so even though I have some very good cards, I don't know that they're actually going to get to resolve. Yeah, this is so much pressure. A Force of Will here, for example, is just backbreaking. TES uses Black Red Reanimator is still probably fine, but I think Eric Landon stopping playing resulted in a lot of the people who were getting all their like sideboard information and like metagame relevant information from him shifting to other decks like Doomsday that more people were working on actively. Like Black Red Reanimator is still a deck that I run into a decent amount in leagues. Not everywhere, but I'm not surprised to see it. 3 cards in graveyard. I don't think this gets to resolve, but we'll see. This one plays into Force of Negation that my previous card did not. Oh yeah, Sprite Dragon is nuts. For sure. Okay, yeah. So my goal was to resolve that so that I can play Astrolabe and make a 3-3 immediately that can get in front of Monastery Swiftspear. Charmander was also a cool design card that just like didn't quite get there. It was borderline playable, and it saw some minor tournament results. Alright, so I don't get to pay for that. Means that this is just making a food, and that's not particularly strong. I don't have quite as much early interaction as the Snow deck, and I don't have things like Force of Will and Force of Negation to help get me through the early turns. So while right now I have the things that can theoretically take over a game easily on their own, I don't have the time necessary in order to set them up. Oko's gonna eat a spell and save me 3 life this turn. I'm gonna take 2 down to 9. Then I'm going to play Uro, go up to 12. Maybe take another 5, go to 7. Then go back to 10, playing the Uro on the back end. And maybe that wins me the game. I believe I have a fetch land on top that can get me my remaining blue source. Okay, I just have the blue source. No, I think I start here. Take the life gain and card draw. Put another land in play, and then I can play the Living Wish around Days. Or alternatively, eat the food. Might just be better to eat the food. Yeah, I'm just going to eat the food rather than cast Living Wish. No, clock is not actually an issue. If I win this game, it will not take very many clicks. Like, I will put an Uro into play and attack twice, or I will put a Wormcoil engine into play and attack 3 times, and, like, the game more or less ends. The Moto lag here is more annoying than anything else. Did I leave that island on top? I don't remember. I should have. No, I left Karn on top. Oops. Oh no, I drew the island. I drew the island. So next turn I have Karn for Ensnaring Bridge. Which is pretty darn good. This Moto lag is getting quite bad. That's pretty annoying. Oh, well, That's the perfects. That leaves me dead. The opponent's multiple late game dazes plus answers to Uro plus answer to like not having to deal with Karn. All in all was a pretty rough combination. And this is kind of what I'm talking about with Living Wish. Like, we've had access to this effect for a couple of turns, and we just don't have time to cast it. Alright. I have a hand with multiple Abrupt Decays, and the theoretical ability to cast them early. Hopefully this is enough interaction to get us through the early turns. I am going to preemptively fetch a basic swamp right now, not accidentally get mised by opposition agent or stifle or whatever. I just want to make sure that I live to play Magic here. My opponent is just like going to take their time and make a bunch of land drops. This game probably favors them, but we'll see. Alright, well, we have Abrupt Decays for days. The good news is that something like an Oko isn't that big of a deal right now. The bad news is that if my opponent is a non-graveyard based combo deck, and this is just something like, say, Show and Tell, I can't do anything. Oh shit, that's a City of Traders. Okay, well, like I said, we can't do anything. Like, an Omniscience or a big dumb creature is just gonna hit play, and I'm not gonna have outs to it. Alright, so this is that spell land. So it can normally enter as sort of a shock land, but it's 3 instead. Or you draw a bunch of cards. So they get 4 cards. Or no, it's +1. 5 cards out of that. And they don't have a maximum hand size. Okay, yeah. And I guess they're real good in multiples. And this is the danger of like not having counter magic when you're a blue deck, right? Like, we didn't have the chance to just fight back against this. Alright, Shared Summons gets Grizzlebrand and Emrakul. I can go ahead and concede to that. That is just a deterministic kill. Okay, I believe that I have already conceded, Moto. Moto, are you just lagging out of your mind? Yeah. Alright. This probably isn't strong enough. And this card sucks. And these cards suck. And Shared Fate is also questionable. Well, I guess we kind of need to do this the hard way, right? So, I probably play these, and I probably play Leovold. I probably leave the Caracas in the sideboard to wish for. I probably bring in Revoker as something to replace my other cards. Yikes. So this can filter out the Decays in the Dead of Winter, and if I want to board out the Pithing Needles rather than leave them for, like, say, Grizzlebrand, I have to bring in, like, Ceratops. Do that, but I don't know that I want to board in, like, this. Yeah, so normally as a blue deck, you beat combo decks by counter magic, and we don't have that. So I expect to lose this game very quickly. Like, how do I win? Like, what is the game plan? What is the world where I actually win this match? It's probably mulliganing to chains, casting chains, and my opponent flops around and doesn't do anything. The web combos with Leyline to stop the opponents from ever attacking. Ugh. I don't think that hand wins. Does this hand win? This hand also doesn't have chains. It's fine, I just toss back one Karn and I keep a suboptimal hand with one redraw immediately and one redraw later. I don't know that this wins. I don't just want to mull into Oblivion for the sake of, like, trying to find a better hand. But this matchup is horrible, and keeping a good a reasonable 6-card hand might not be good enough. I think a hand that has either chains or Leovold ends up being much, much better than this. Yeah, the Astrolabe could be anything. Even the card I could have 7 more looks at by mulliganing. I'm gonna mulligan this hand when I get priority back. Norekia, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. You have a good thumbnail prepared for uploading this to YouTube, though. We're ready. Just lay out what's in the deck list. Because I didn't know what to name this sucker. On 5, I might just accept this hand. My deck requires a decent number of cards in order to go and play the dumb things that are my win conditions. So if I start going down too low, I'm just not going to have a combination of lands plus cards that matter that allows me to actually win the game. So while I was willing to ship back the 7 and 6 pretty quickly, looking for, like, Chains or Leovold, one of my few cards that actually matters. Atlas Jester, do you mean how many in the queue? Like, how many things in front of you? I should play your deck in about 2 weeks, would be my guess. Well, that's tonight's. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 5 in front of you as of right now. So that's about 2 weeks from now. And thank you very much for supporting the content, by the way. Always happy to be playing the decks that people in the community want to be seeing. Chains! Hello! My friend. Get in here. Although, truth be told, there is a world where I'm just supposed to Living Wish for Caracas this turn, but whatever. Alright, just forced. My opponent's hand might be really blue light. They didn't cast that Ponder on their turn, even though they had, like, Ponder plus fetch land available. Alternatively, that may mean that they just have everything that they need to win, or that they have Impulse. Oh, white mana. They have Teferi in the list? Might be Nathan's blue-white Omnitel list, then. Yeah, I like the old Chains art quite a bit. I chose my Leyline. Put it in play moto. Come on, you can do it. Get over the finish line. Alright, they have Omniscience into Cunning Wish. Cunning Wish gets shared summons, and I died. Yep. Alright. Concede. GG. Alright, so my overall thoughts on the deck list are not positive. We're trying to do something that is both slow and cute. And that is a very bad combination right now. I do not think you get to time walk yourself right now for selection in Legacy by casting a 2-mana tutor. Like I said in the Eternal Glory podcast last week, when I saw a deck list with Living Wish trying to do the same thing, I thought it was crazy. And the tempo loss to Living Wish this league was absolutely brutal. Did it do really cool things sometimes? Yeah. Being able to, like, grab that Shifting Ceratops that was pro-blue and could attack through Progenitus and could attack through the Sprite Dragons was awesome. But it's rough. I just don't think we have the tools needed to beat most Legacy decks. We don't have the generic disruption of something like Thoughtseize or Force of Will. And for decks that aren't playing fair, we basically have nothing. For a non-graveyard combo hate deck, for a non-graveyard combo deck, like, we kind of roll over and die. Like, what are we supposed to do against TES or Ant or Doomsday? So I think the combination of tempo loss plus lack of generic sweeping answers plus some cards that are a little bit janky if not drawn in combination, and some cards that are probably too expensive to be playing in Legacy. All of these things paint a picture of a deck that is just, like, not quite there. Yeah, Fornia, like, we're a worse version of Snow that didn't carry along most of the strengths of Snow. Like, we have a couple of cantripping cards, but even those are bad because we boarded in Chains of Mephistopheles a whole bunch, right? Like, those got boarded in almost every round, and that meant that some of our draws actually end up being pretty bad off of the deck. Like, we're playing Chains of Mephistopheles in a deck that has, what, 4, 8, 9 cantripping cards in the main deck? So, like, I love the design space that is being explored here. Like, it's a really neat idea, but this is something that you're gonna have more success with, like, dicking around with your friends, playing some casual Legacy, or, like, playing Legacy at a pub or something like that, like, when you have the option to do that again, than in competitive online, like, Legacy leagues. So, overall, this one gets to fill thumbs down, but hey, we 2-3'd with it, so we didn't get swept. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed. For those of you watching on the YouTube end, if you made it this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing if you aren't already subscribed. If you're looking to donate to the channel to get your deck on stream, information for that is in the video description, as is this deck list. Have a great rest of the day.